as human beings, are able to make last-minute changes. For example, watch this. The hood is up, the hood is down, and the hood is back up. Did anybody walk in here and stop me? No. Now, thankfully, nobody cares about that because I'm just a loser making videos on YouTube. But when it comes to professional wrestling, you can have one person about to fight another person as all the fans cross their arms like, well, wait a minute, this seems kind of crappy, what are we doing? Sometimes we just have to grin and bear it, but sometimes life intervenes or it finds a way. Hello, I am Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 wrestling matches that benefited from last-minute changes. Subscribe. Number 10, The Undertaker versus The Big Show at the Great American Bash 2006. Now look, I never said that they made the match good, I just said they made them better. Because yes, back in 2006, we had the first ever Punjabi prison match, and while on paper I'm sure that was a sound concept, when it came to building the thing, the whole time you're watching going, well, I can barely see. As you can probably figure out though, this was meant to be this staple stipulation of the great Khali, and he challenged Undertaker to get in this wooden thingamajig and have a bit of a fight. Now look, the great Khali had his pros and the great Khali had his cons, but did anybody want to see this match? No, they did not. So when a blood test for Khali came back with elevated liver enzymes, WWE had to make a call. They put the Big Show in there instead, and I will tell you this, the Big Show versus the Dead Man is always going to be better than the Undertaker taking on the great Khali. I mean, the facts are the facts and the truth are the truth. Don't forget, years after this, the great Khali was doing the kiss cam. What even is wrestling? Number 9, John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura on a 2017 SmackDown. As far as I know, John Cena and Shinsuke Nakamura have only had one singles match in both their legendary careers, and it happened on SmackDown in 2017. Going down on the 1st of August, this also had a massive stipulation attached to it because if John Cena won, he was going to become the #1 contender for the WWE title, but far more intriguingly, if Nakamura could pull this off, so would he. Amazingly too, Shinsuke actually got the win and he pinned John Cena clean, and also dropped him on his neck halfway through the match. And then it went all sad panda for him because out came Baron Corbin with his Money in the Bank briefcase, and he just smacked everyone around for a while. However, the last-minute change, and thank goodness we do this, is that originally, Corbin was going to come out with his briefcase while the match was still on. He was going to hit some people in the face, meaning Nakamura would have won by disqualification. Now, it still would have been exciting, but nowhere near as impactful as the fact that Shinsuke beat Jonathan Cena for the 1, 2, 3 using his own maneuver. So bravo, WWE. You made the right decision. Number 8, Braun Strowman versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 36 Night 1. So just to go back in time a little bit, yes, we're about to talk about the period where Bill Goldberg was able to eat the Fiend and then Braun Strowman was doing stuff and Roman Reigns returned before he was like, ha ha, now we've got to WrestleMania, I know who I want to take on. Goldberg. And look, I love Goldberg, but why was there so much Goldberg? Of course, this was around the same time as the pandemic, which led to a crazy amount of changes. I mean, we had no fans. WrestleMania went to 2 nights, and Roman Reigns was all like, look, this is a dangerous environment. I'm going home. This meant Braun Strowman was drafted in instead, and he was able to beat Goldberg to become the WWE champion for the first time. And the reason why I think this is better is because this version of Roman Reigns was not the version of Roman Reigns that we have now. And if you had done Roman versus Goldberg and had Reigns win the championship, I mean, trust me, they would not have been saying boo words. Number 7, Razor Ramon versus Dean Douglas at In Your House 4. Way back in 1995 at the In Your House 4 pay-per-view, Dean Douglas was meant to take on Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship. We were then told that the Heartbreak Kid had been beaten up at a nightclub, so this wasn't going to happen anymore. Now, whether or not that was true or not is up to you. You're going to have to Google it to get the information. But around this point, someone just came up to Dean and went, oh, hi, you are now the Intercontinental Champion. And he started doing a jig when all of a sudden Razor Ramon was out and he pinned him to win the title, and it was like, what is going on? Now, very sadly, Dean Douglas would never get a shot at another championship, but this actually helped Scott Hall's career at the time. He needed something like this, but it also served as a platform for Shawn Michaels to come back and enter the main event scene. So while once again, it wasn't very fair on the Dean, Everybody else benefited massively. Number 6, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair at the 2018 Survivor Series. So as was the way with Survivor Series, this was meant to be champion versus champion, or Ronda Rousey one champion versus Becky Lynch the other champion, where on Raw, Nia Jax busted open Lynch's nose, and we had to make a bunch of changes. Charlotte Flair was soon brought in, and I tell you why this all worked out in the long run. One, we're doing the counting thing again. Fans are all of a sudden like, oh, well, I've always wanted to see Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, so that's good. But it also kept Ronda and Becky apart. And as we now know, Lynch was about to become the biggest star in the damn industry, which meant eventually when she did meet up with Ronda, the match was actually even bigger than it would have been here. All of this, of course, also set up that WrestleMania main event when Becky did get her due and become a double champion. And I'm sorry, you shouldn't want to change that for anything. The only thing you do want to change is the running length of that WrestleMania. I went to that one live, and after 7 hours, my brain just went, yeah, I think I'm done. What an ungrateful asshole. Number 5, the Ultimate Warrior versus the Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 1998. So if we are going to go by what we have read and what people have talked about, when it comes to the first ever SummerSlam, Brutus the Barber Beefcake was meant to be competing for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, as we have brought up Brutus, what the hell was his plan here? Oh, I'm going to become a hairdresser, and that will make me be a good wrestler? Doesn't make any sense. For reasons I suppose we will never know, the WWF then decided, well, we don't want Brutus in this match against Honky Tonk Man, who was the champion at the time. We gave him a kayfabe injury. We drafted the Ultimate Warrior in instead. And because the Honky Tonk Man didn't want to work with Jim Hellwig, he just said, look, I don't care that I have the record for the longest reigning Intercontinental Championship ever. Just let him beat me in a few seconds. That's actually what did happen. It helped the Ultimate One no end. And fair play to Honks, he kind of made this work. But also, we have to ask the same question again, because much like the barber, the Honky Tonk Man had gone, I become Elvis, I'm sure I'll be successful at grappling. All these people are weird. Number 4, Finn Balor versus AJ Styles at TLC 2017. So yes, on this evening, it was meant to be Finn Balor taking on Bray Wyatt, who had decided that he was also Sister Abigail, and cut a promo with a veil over his head. Years have passed, and I still have absolutely no idea what we were trying to achieve here. Now, this show in general was just ruined by some kind of illness that ravaged the WWE locker room, but it did mean the powers that be were like, well, we got Finn Balor, and we need an opponent for him. Who doesn't have anybody for this show? And the answer was Finn Balor, and these two guys went out there and had a terrific match. When all was said and done, they're even too sweet. And for nerds like me, it was like, this is great. Balor also got the win here, so everyone was like, oh man, this has got to be the start of his push. And 24 hours later, he lost to Kane on Raw. Number 3, Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase at WrestleMania 4. So this WrestleMania is famous because it was the night when we just did a massive tournament to crown a brand new WWF World Champion. Wonderfully, did go to the Macho Man Randy Savage. However, once again, if we do go back into the original plans, everybody has said that Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, was going to be the victor, especially because it had been his actions which had made this tournament come about in the first place, because he had bought the belt off of Andre the Giant before Jack Tunney was like, what are you doing? That's not legal. However, here's how everything went. Apparently, Randy Savage wasn't meant to be in the World Title Tournament anyway. He was going to win the Intercontinental Championship from old Honky Tonk Man, and after Tonks had gone, no, I don't want to do the job, everything shifted. Because Vince McMahon decided, well, we really should end WrestleMania with a babyface, so Savage was put into the thing, and he won. Now, do not get me wrong, Ted DiBiase should have been the WWF champion at one point, but he never was, and much like Mr. Perfect, that is absolutely disgusting. Number 2, that Gauntlet match on SmackDown in 2019. So honestly, never forget this. Because Randy Orton accidentally stepped on Mustafa Ali's face in the early part of 2019, WWE had to rewrite all of their plans, which ended with Kofi Mania. One of the best things they've done for years. Sadly, it did mean that Ali was out of the Elimination Chamber match as everybody competed for Daniel Bryan's WWE title. Kofi Kingston was drafted in. And before we got there, we had this Gauntlet match where all of a sudden you can tell, wait a minute, everybody is cheering for the Kofi. This really did happen because the first match of that thing was Bryan versus Kofi Kingston, and Kingston won. Then he beat the next guy, and he beat the next guy, and he beat the next guy, and he beat the next guy. And I think what happened is an information bug crawled into our ears and it said, wait, This guy's been smashing it for a decade plus. I think we should give him more love. So we did. It all came together to lead to WrestleMania 35, where Kofi Kingston did win the WWE title from Daniel Bryan and flubbed me sideways. I was there, as we've already talked about, and I had tears in my eyes. This was one hell of a fantastic moment, all because of one tiny change. Number 1, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31. This is just the coolest story ever, and I hope it is true. But when we got to WrestleMania 31, and I'm talking about the day of, nobody thought Seth Rollins was cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. And then minutes, probably hours beforehand, somebody found Seth and went, hey, come over here. We've been chatting. You going over, kid. It's kind of crazy because WWE for months have been going, well, how are we going to get this thing off Rollins? But the decision was made on this night, and the heist of the century went down, where Seth Rollins made the main event a triple threat, and he was able to win the gold. And this happened almost 10 years ago, and I still smile about it every time I see it, because it was just pro wrestling done right. There's also a little caveat here that if you do tune into this now, you can see Roman Reigns' actual family flipping out, because they had all been told that Roman was winning before this last minute change happened. But that's the business, folks. You just never know. Know of any of the last minute changes that made WWE matches better? Make sure you let us know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head to whatculture.com where you can read yourself some articles. Make sure you come follow us on social media at WhatCultureWWE and Simon316. And if you would like to watch another video, well, you would be defining my existence. My name is Simon for What Culture. Don't ask why my hood's been up this whole time. It's just cold, really, and it's a good way to heat yourself up. You take care. See you soon.